So I want to talk right now about why so many people believe that Bitcoin is imminently headed towards a minimum of $500,000 a coin. Imminently, okay? Because this is what struck me the first time. And I'm going to throw a bunch of links down in the description below for everybody. I'll kind of put together like some of my favorite videos and maybe a little like crypto starter kit that you can spend a couple hours listening to and fall in love with some of these educators on the subject. I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination on this. I'm just simply here to share with you my story and why I'm so bullish about it. Lean into the experts for information and for details about this. But this is my takeaway from what I've learned so far, and you'll see some of this elaborated about in the videos that I put down there for you. First and foremost, Bitcoin is being considered, you know, digital gold. That's what you're going to hear more than anything else, is that there's this direct comparison between the standard of gold, which has been a valuable asset for longer than anything else, right? Thousands of years. And it breaks down to desirability, right? What makes something desirable? What makes gold specifically desirable? Gold is desirable because of a collection of different properties. First of all, it is scarce, and that's going to be the very first thing that you hear acknowledged regarding why Bitcoin continues to develop this sort of crazy popularity. And at the end of the day, the scarcity factor of this is set in stone for all of eternity, right? I mean, you've got 21 million total Bitcoin, and there will only be 21 total million Bitcoin forever. When you compare that to other asset classes, gold being the first because that's the closest that people are generally looking at, it has finite value too. They just don't know how much. They're still digging it up. And, you know, frankly, by the way, have you ever really even tried to use gold? It's crazy. Like, you know, outside of jewelry and maybe what they've shoved into my iPhone here, I honestly don't really know how to use gold. I've never purchased anything with it. I can't imagine buying a Tesla with it, much less a coffee. I feel that gold is not really all that functional, but the comparison is there of there being supply-demand issues, and that's obviously really strong, demonstrated in real estate right now. That's the whole reason real estate's taking off, is because there aren't enough properties, right? So we see the power of scarcity, and that's going to be, I think, the biggest one for Bitcoin. There are two other big properties that they're compared to with gold. The second being portability and the third being divisibility. So portability meaning you can pack it all into your bag and travel with it and take it with you. Third is obviously that you shave little pieces off of it, and that's how you're supposed to buy your Starbucks, I guess. I really have no idea, right? But it can be, you can buy little pieces of it or a lot of it. And so when we look at the comparison between those three properties, we've already established that the 21 million Bitcoin is much more scarce really than gold or even real estate. People say, oh, yeah, there's only so much land. You can only, we've heard that our whole lives in the old fashioned way of thinking, oh, they can never make more land. And I tend to sort of disagree in some ways, because even if you run out of land to build on, you can always build up too, right? So there's always this like infinite ability to create more places to live. And then,
look
again,
at Tokyo.
gold, right, exactly. That's probably the best example. I would say, from a portability standpoint, I mean, I'd much rather have access here where I can just QR code myself to a purchase. And we're starting to see the adoption of Bitcoin in so many other ways by so many companies that functionality is becoming better and better almost every day, it feels like. Even Venmo just launched a way of exchanging Bitcoin this week to 70 some odd million more users, right? So we know that functionality is...
In addition to that, MasterCard and Visa just put it on their merchant platform. Goldman Sachs has announced that they're rolling it out to their private wealth clients. Morgan Stanley as well. I mean, those are heavy, heavy hitters. And like you said, that Venmo announcement, 77 million users now can buy and exchange Bitcoin right on their platform. And that's just amazing.
We're going to just keep seeing more and more and more of it. There are some estimations that really there's only been about a 5% adoption rate to this thing right now too. Now that number could be way off. I'd love somebody to comment below and correct me on that, whether it's more or less, but hoping for less, because that just means there's going to continue to be a larger and larger surge of people that are getting involved in the space. But I think that there are a lot of additional benefits behind the Bitcoin comparison than just portability and just divisibility. Because for those of you who don't know, I think a lot of people, when I talk to family or friends, they're like, oh man, Bitcoin's at 55,000, Bitcoin's at 60,000. Bitcoin hit almost 65,000, if not over, just within the last couple of weeks. And they're like, I can't spend $65,000 on a Bitcoin. And so that tends to be a pretty big barrier of entry. And you don't have to, because of the divisibility of it. You can literally buy 0.0001 Bitcoin in order to give yourself start at a portfolio. And most people that I learn from recommend the dollar cost averaging point of view. If you just set up an auto buy, either every week you're putting in $25 or $250 or $2,500. Right now I have an auto buy set up for $500 weekly, but I'm also trying to dump as many tens of thousands that I possibly can in.